Yes, I even killed my brothers and so many others.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In a victory for U.S. war resistors, Canada's federal court ruled Friday the Immigration and Refugee Board should reconsider the asylum claim of conscientious objector and Iraq war vet Joshua Key. The court ruled Key had been forced to systematically violate the Geneva Conventions as part of his military service in Iraq, and that such misconduct amounts to a legitimate refugee claim. Friday's ruling came a month after the June 3rd parliamentary motion to allow U.S. war resistors and their family members to stay permanently in Canada. The non-binding motion called on the Canadian government to stop all deportation actions against U.S. war resistors in Canada. A recent poll also found a majority of Canadians, 64%, are in favor of granting permanent residence status to conscientious objectors from the United States. As many as 200 U.S. war resistors are currently living in Canada. We're joined now by Iraq war resistor Joshua Key on the phone from Saskatchewan, also the author of The Deserter's Tale, the story of an ordinary soldier who walked away from the war in Iraq. We're also joined in Toronto by Joshua's lawyer, Jeffry House, who himself was a Vietnam War resistor, and we welcome you as well to Democracy Now! Starting off with Joshua Key, your response to the Canadian court decision.
It's very hopeful, and I'm glad to see the process go forward. So.
Let me go to Jeffry House. Jeffrey, can you explain what the decision is? It's not final, but explain exactly its significance.
Well, the federal court accepted the findings of the Refugee Board that Joshua Key had been ordered by his superior officers to systematically violate the Geneva Conventions in the way in which he and his squad was operating in Iraq. The Refugee Board, the lower court, had said, okay, he did violate the Geneva Conventions, but he didn't commit war crimes, so he's not a refugee. And the federal court said, no, that's too narrow of an understanding of the right of a soldier to refuse improper orders. And they said that if you are ordered to violate the Geneva Conventions on a systematic basis, you have a right to refuse, and any punishment that follows from that refusal will make you a convention refugee and protected by international law.
Now, the decision was to send this case back to a lower court, is that right?
That's right, because there's a question here in Canada, which is whether soldiers face punishment or not. We have argued and have given examples of soldiers who have refused to participate in the Iraq War who are, in fact, punished. But nonetheless, the Federal Court of Appeal here in Canada had said that there's insufficient evidence that soldiers who refuse to serve will be punished by the government of the United States. So in Joshua's case, if there's even a hint that he will face punishment if he's returned to the United States, that would give rise to a refugee claim. However, if he were simply to be discharged and not further used as a soldier, then according to the court decision, he would not be a convention refugee.
Joshua Key, can you tell us about your time in Iraq? What did you tell the court about your experience there?
I told him it was death, destruction, and chaos on our behalf. I've looked at it as many times in my participation in Iraq in dealing with raids, traffic control points, and just civilian killings that shouldn't have to go back. None of us should have to go back and participate.